I am in a position that I don't want to be in, but I don't know what other position I'm able to be in. Syracuse missing a bowl game is on the table after a 10-win season. Jackson Holzer of Locked On Orange is here. I like Steve Angeli. I legitimately do. He's not the most proven guy in the world. I think the potential is really there. I think Fran Brown's really good. This is an offense that lost quite a bit from a season ago. But holy smokes, Jackson, when everyone discusses the 10 hardest schedules in college football, you better have Syracuse on there because this is probably the toughest in the ACC. I don't know how Louisville's not on there at least, but just about everybody else who's going to be good in the ACC is. No SMU, I suppose, as well. But
no, they do have SMU.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, yeah, SMU is on there because of course. But I mean, you've got Tennessee and Notre Dame in the non-conference. You go at Clemson, you go at SMU. Is 5-7 a crazy prediction to you? Because I wanted to land somewhere else. I really did, in theory, but in practicality, that's where I wound up. They could be the best 5-7 team in the country.
Well, Syracuse fans aren't going to be happy you said that. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
Because I don't think they want to envision a world where Syracuse doesn't make a bowl. But the reality is that this is a team that has, I think, a pretty high ceiling, but also a pretty low floor. They're kind of difficult to project this upcoming season. Aside from the schedule, we don't even know who the quarterback is going to be. And okay, let's say we do find out pretty soon if it's Steve Angeli or Ricky Collins. We don't know how they're going to be as full-time starting quarterbacks in college football because they've never done it before. Angeli does have a little bit more experience, as the coaching staff has pointed out. The fact that he has started a bowl game, the fact that he made a brief appearance in last year's college football playoff, all is good. Ricky Collins, they say, has a ton of talent, but only 7 career passing attempts in his college career. Uncertainty at quarterback, new team just across the board. They lost a lot of returning production from a year ago. So already it's a question a little bit with this team. Then you factor in the schedule. Yeah. And the reason why 5-7 is on the table is because you look at some of their difficult games, right? At Clemson, at Notre Dame. Those are going to be really tough to win. Tennessee, neutral site to kick off the season. I mean, that's going to be really tough to win, even if you think that Syracuse can pull off that upset, which I think I would give them a puncher's chance at doing. That's what the odds makers are saying over on FanDuel. They give Syracuse a puncher's chance. But then you look at Miami, at SMU, at Georgia Tech. They're playing 5 of the projected top 6 teams in the ACC. So if Syracuse goes the whole year without pulling off an upset and they don't run the table against the teams that they're either at least on par with or they're close enough in talent, or maybe they have more talent then yeah, they could go 5-7 or maybe even 4-8. Having said that, Spencer, if they pull off a couple of upsets, this is a team that I could see also going 8-4 or 9-3. It's tough to project Syracuse in 2025, much tougher than it was last year.
Yeah, I agree. If they had Kyle McCord, I think this would be 7-5 minimum and 9-3 max. But for those on YouTube, you can see my preseason ACC power rankings. Number 1, Clemson. Syracuse plays them on the road. Number 2, Miami. Syracuse plays them on the road. Thank goodness they missed Louisville because they play number 4, Georgia Tech, on the road. They play number 5, SMU on the road. They play number 6, Duke, at home. 5 of the top 6 and 4 of those 5 on the road. Then you factor in a week 1 game against Tennessee, who I talked about yesterday on the show. I don't think Tennessee's a playoff team. I do think their roster is still in a good spot. It's just kind of the same as Syracuse. I have quarterback questions. However, which roster do I trust more with quarterback questions right now? The answer is Tennessee. They're a big favorite, 14.5 points. And look, I've seen 14.5 point favorites lose in the early portion of the season before. Ohio State was favored by 22.5 last year against Michigan at home. 2021 against Oregon, it was 14 and a half. I mean, it's happened. The bottom line that Cal is the most recent ACC example I can think of. They were 12 and a half point dogs going to Auburn last year, walked away outright winners. If Syracuse wins that game, Jackson, I think 10 wins is on the table. I mean, if you can win that game in week 1 before you fully acclimated a quarterback to the offense and figured out who is playing where and how good everyone's going to be, yeah, I think you could do a lot of things. But this stretch of at Clemson, Duke, at SMU, Pitt, who's not a slouch, by the way. Eli Holstein is back there for the Panthers. At Georgia Tech, 2 and 3 would be great. It would be great. I've got him 1 and 4 in those games. 3 and 2 would be, holy smokes, is Syracuse going to be the best 9 and 3 team in the country?
You know, Spencer, if Syracuse is a good team, which hopefully they are, roster-wise, talent-wise, that's a question. Again, we don't necessarily know because they don't have the same returning production like they had last year. But if Syracuse is a good team, which I hope they are, you're allowed to beat other good teams. So as intimidating of a schedule as it is, you are allowed to go on the road and beat SMU. You can do that. If you are a good team, is it unreasonable to suggest you can't pull off an upset or two and that you can't hold serve at home? See, here's the thing with Syracuse. Yeah, it's on the table that they miss a bowl, 100%. Last year wasn't really on the table where they could miss a bowl. You just looked at their schedule, you looked at their talent, and you're like 6-6, maybe at worst. But they were going to make a bowl, probably no problem last year. This year, you know what? Yeah, it's going to be tougher to make a bowl. But you know what? I'm not giving them excuses. I'm not sitting here saying, yeah, I'm okay with 5 and 7. I'm okay with being the best 5 and 7 team in the country. No. The expectation this season at minimum is to make a bowl. That's my opinion. Now, Fran Brown and the roster, they'd probably tell you that the expectation is to go undefeated and win the national championship. Now, I'm not going to go that far, but at minimum, you got to make a bowl this season. I don't care how tough the schedule is. If you're a good team, you can beat other good teams. It's as simple as that.
That's a good way of looking at it. That's a very rosy, optimistic outlook. And you know what? I by the way, I don't take pleasure in coming down on this record prediction for Syracuse. I'd love to see them go 9 and 3. Because you know what? With this schedule, if they go 9 and 3, that means they probably beat either Tennessee or Notre Dame or Clemson. They'd have a win over one of the. They'd have to win. I think one of those, technically speaking, those could be their only losses of the year. I don't think that's particularly likely if they're good enough to go 9 and 3 with the schedule that they're only losing, those But can we talk about Syracuse as a playoff at large, please? Please, if they go 9 and 3, Tennessee and Notre Dame when they go at Clemson, at Georgia Tech, man, it's just at Miami. That would be think of it. Maybe let's say, just hypothetically, they do lose only to Notre Dame, Clemson, and Tennessee. Syracuse can make the ACC championship game.
You're right.
They probably would.
You're right. They would. They would be 7-1 in the conference.
Yeah.
There you go. They're in the ACC title, and all you got to do is win one game to make the college football playoff. I will say this: unlike last year. This year, because the schedule is tougher, it works in both ways. Yeah, it's going to be tougher to make a bowl. It's also easier to make the college football playoff if you're good, right? If you go 9 and 3, maybe one of those wins is against Clemson. Maybe one of those wins is against a team like, I don't think they're going to beat Notre Dame, but the point being, maybe it's against Tennessee, who Tennessee ends up being a good team this year in the SEC. I don't know. It's probably going to factor in a win over Miami or a win over SMU. So if you're a good team, Syracuse, and you go 9 and 3, unlike last year where 9 and 3 wasn't close to consideration for the college football playoff, specifically for Syracuse, I think this year it would, where we would be sitting there on Selection Sunday with the 9 and 3 Syracuse team saying they have a shot. I don't know if they would get in at 9 and 3 because it's also the ACC and they're not going to get respect. We know this by now, but
probably not.
9-3, you would give yourself a shot where the committee might look at you and say, that might be a playoff team. The easiest thing to do, though, would just be, go to the ACC championship and win it. And you don't have to worry.
that would be easier, as it turns out, because there's an automatic berth in there, because you'd be one of the 5 highest ranked conference champs. If you go 10-2, frankly, I think
10-2 they're in.
By the way,
could you?
Yeah, it should be. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if somehow a 9-3 Syracuse team got into the playoff? The SEC crowd would probably have a collective aneurysm and might just quit the sport, just on principle. They wouldn't have looked at Syracuse's schedule as deeply as they maybe should have. But man, I tell you what, it's tough.
Well, Spencer, it's funny because they're playing Tennessee in week 1.
Yep.
And if they beat Tennessee, then what are they going to say? You know what they're going to say, Spencer, if they beat Tennessee in week 1?
It's week 1. Doesn't count.
No. Forget that. It's going to be even worse. Well, Tennessee's not good. Tennessee's not a part of us. Tennessee's not an SEC.
It doesn't count
this year. What are you talking about? Like, you didn't play Georgia. You didn't play Alabama like the rest of us and lose by 40 to them, You got to play Tennessee, who was average, and they're not very good. And then we're going to sit here and say, like, really, we're doing this again. So if you beat an SEC team, that SEC team isn't very good. But if you lose to the SEC, the conference is just so superior. You know how it works.
That is indeed the way. Hey, Tennessee, preseason top 20 team, which is a little bit too much respect. Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse. Great as always, my man. Appreciate everyone listening. I will see you next time. Until then, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day.